Well, we're at the doorstep of the Memorial Day holiday weekend, with Friday being getaway day. And as we look forward to the next 5 days or so, there are going to be areas of severe weather going on, and much of it is going to be covering the eastern two-thirds of the United States. Not all the time, but it is going to be rough at times in some places. We'll let you know where and when. And in fact, we could see some severe weather on Memorial Day in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. We'll talk about that.
Yay!
Yay! The NOAA hurricane forecast is out. We'll go over that as well. And who knows what else will show up tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast for this Thursday, the 23rd of May, brought to you by Tempest by WeatherFlow, our affiliate. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system, which you can run from your mobile device and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. Easy to install. Believe me, it's easy to install. If I can do it, anybody can. Uh, if you purchase this or anything else from the Tempest website, be sure to use the coupon code SPRING 2024, because if you do, you will get
10% off. 10!
10.
10.
So, Joe, I was wondering, because you did have showers and thunderstorms this morning, and I was wondering whether those showers and thunderstorms were accompanied by strong gusty winds, heavy rain, and frequently dangerous lightning. Did you get any of that or all of the above?
I have to tell you that I can't say for sure. We probably got some pretty gusty winds because there was one tree near the front of my house where a big branch was broken. And I can't say what happened exactly because I had to leave. Just as the storms were moving in, I had to leave to take my daughter to Stewart International Airport, which is to my north, because she is spending a few days down in lovely, sunny, and sauna like Florida. So I hope she's enjoying herself down there and hope she doesn't sweat too much. But anyway, I had to take her to the airport, and we were leaving the house just as the sky was really getting dark. And in fact, I'm sitting in the front seat, in the driver's seat, getting ready to go. And then she said, "Oh, I forgot my phone." She had to run back into the house. Sky's getting darker and darker. And she gets back into the car. I said, "I don't recall missing this." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, the solar eclipse." I said, "It's darker now at 7:45 in the morning than it was when I went up to Plattsburgh for the total eclipse a month ago. It was getting dark, Joe, really dark. So it must have, and the rain must have come down really hard because when I got back a few hours later and checked the rain gauge on the weather station in my house, picked up about 0.85 inches of rain. So the rain must have came down fast and furious. There was some loud cracks of thunder, and I did get a report from Peekskill. Now Peekskill is, just south of where I am, and they apparently had ping pong ball sized hail
No.
at Peekskill. I can't tell if there was any hail at my house because when all the action was going on, I was on the way to the airport. So, but it
Well,
must have been a pretty good storm.
well, since you missed it, Tyler Fienga, who's one of our regulars on the chat board, and if I remember correctly, he lives in northern New Jersey, sent me this video clip of the rain this morning at his house. And by the way, uh, not more than it was more than just a few people that messaged me this morning about the fact that how threatening the sky was and how dark it got. You get these thunderstorms that come in after sunrise and the sun is still pretty low in the sky. It can get quite dark, and you can see on the video, Joe. I mean, it really did come down in torrents. At least it did in North Jersey. Certainly, I saw on the radar that rain moved through New York City, the Hudson Valley, Long Island. So everybody got a taste of it. And by the way, as it turned out, the thunderstorms that really kind of came through here this morning, in some ways, kind of after it went by, the atmosphere got a bit more stable. So there really wasn't much. There's not really much of anything going on the radar during this afternoon and this evening. There's some stuff to the south, but that's not going to get here. But I mean, really, it did come down in Torrance, and it did get a bit on the windy side. Although I'm not seeing any trees snapping, which thankfully. But again, thanks to Tyler for sending this today, uh, and hopefully everybody got through all of this without any big problems.
It was an upside down day because normally you would expect something like that to come after 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But again, it looks like it concentrated its fury between about 8 and 10 a.m. this morning in and around the tri state metropolitan area. And it looked like some pretty good, you know, yeah, I think back, and so does Renata, when we used to work at a private weather office in order to plot radar. We literally had to plot radar. We'd get it off of the old Circuit C teletype, and they had whole rows of numbers, and we had plastic, clear plastic over a map, let's say, of the area in and around the tri-state area, and we would just plot depending upon what the numbers say. Level 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, and that was how we did weather, 40 years ago.
By the time
And
he got the plot done, the rain was over with.
right, but sometimes you're right. But now here in the early 21st century, all you have to do is whip out your iPhone and call up local National Weather Service site or one of the sites that provides radar. And boom, there you go. You got your radar right there to see what's happening. So
Everybody has access. So
yep.
anyway, welcome to everybody tonight on the Joe and on the chat board, and those of you who are watching in the background, welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. This way you don't miss us. We're on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35. Off days are Friday and Saturday unless there's storminess around, and then we juggle schedules so that we can cover it. This Sunday we are going to be off, so this is the last show of this week, and we will be back Monday night when there's a possibility that we could be dealing with some severe weather, which we'll be getting into momentarily. But Joe, the folks at NOAA came out with their forecast, the Hurricane Center, and this was their most aggressive forecast that since they've been putting out forecasts. This is the most aggressive one since 2010, so it's like the second most aggressive. They're going for 17 to 25 named storms, and last year I think they went 14 to 20, and they did wind up hitting their numbers. 17 to 25 named storms, 8 to 13 hurricanes, and 4 to 7 major hurricanes. That I think is the number that is the standout here. Is that given the state of the atmosphere with the La Nina, we're likely to see more in the way of range major hurricanes. And by the way, for those of you who are interested, I'll put the link up. I got it here someplace. Just give me a moment. I'm going to put a link up from Tropical Tidbits, and uh, Levi Cowan. Uh, I watched his video, and it was very good. I mean, it really explained the state of the atmosphere and the relationship between the of La Nina to the Atlantic Basin, and how that impacts the hurricane season. And among the many interesting points that he made, the one that really stood out to me was the fact that you have the uh, the forecast tells you the number of storms, and of course, what the forecast can't tell you is where how many how many of these are going to make landfall. I mean, we've had seasons where you've got a lot of storms, but you get very few in the way of landfalls. And his point was well taken. He said, the long range part of the forecast of the overall pattern is, it's easy to figure that out. Okay. But when it comes to the storms and whether they're going to be making landfalls or not, that comes down to whatever the short range pattern it happens to be in. So we're talking about whatever week that storm is, whatever calendar week or whatever time period that storm is, making landfall is really going to be determined on what the pattern is at that time and not the broad scale pattern. The broad scale pattern says, yes, there'll be a lot of storms, but it's the short range that matters when it comes to that. And that's one part of their forecasting that they haven't figured out how to do yet.
Yeah, it's but and let's also point out that there have been years where there have been a plethora of tropical cyclones, tropical storms, hurricanes, a real high amount out in the Atlantic basin. And yet, in those years, we've seen very few storms actually make landfall in the U.S. or even, of course, up here in the New York or northeastern United States. And yet, there have been other years where there haven't been very much in the way of hurricane activity, and yet those few hurricanes that did form managed to find their way to the United States mainland. Case in point, August of 1992, it's hard to believe, Joe, but in August of 1992, the very first hurricane that formed that year, the A storm, was not until the last few days of August of 1992. So we were, pretty well into the hurricane season, and we didn't have anything to talk about until, let's say, I think it was around August 25th or 27th or whatever. But what turned out to be the first storm of the season, the letter A was Andrew, which had to be among the top five most devastating, among the top five worst hurricanes that the United States saw in the 20th century. Really did a number on Florida and also did a number, I believe, on another section of the Gulf Coast. And, like I said, it was a relatively quiet hurricane season, but as somebody may have said once, all you need is one, and that was the one in 1992. So the fact that we have a lot of activity anticipated for this year does not necessarily mean that the tri-state area or the northeastern U.S. is under the gun, or even any part of the United States is under the gun with hurricane activity. I'm sure that the U.S. will have a few hurricane hits during this upcoming season, but if you get the impression, oh my goodness, and all these hurricanes, it may not necessarily be as bad, at least for the U.S. We'll wait and see on that, but nobody can. We can reach the point in our technology where we can make predictions as to just the actual number of hurricane or tropical cyclones that we may see in a typical season. But exactly where these things go, whether it'll be the US or Mexico or the Caribbean or wherever, that's something we still have yet to figure out. But
Right.
we'll
Well, I
know certainly in October and November, won't we?
You're right. That we'll know. I pinned the link is I put it on the chat board. It's pinned to the top of the chat board for those of you who are interested. That's Levi Cowan's video. Which if weather's your, I mean, I assume that everybody on here is because weather's their thing. I think you'll enjoy it. He really explains things in a nice, easy fashion. So yeah, and there's a lot there. So enjoy it after the show. Don't go there now. Okay, we do have it's another night with severe weather going on. Maybe it's been taken down a notch from what we've seen in the last number of days. It seems to be a bit lower at the moment, but some of this is getting underway. Will be underway after the show is over with. But we've got severe thunderstorm watches up for central Nebraska, up into South Dakota and North Dakota. We have tornado watches up in central Texas with flood watches as well that extend up into Oklahoma. There is a severe thunderstorm watch in eastern Kentucky and northeast Tennessee that's getting slowly whittled away, but there's some action going on the radar there. We've got some heat advisories up. I believe the orange is a heat advisory. Uh, that color orange is. Yes, in South Texas, as the heat ridge begins to build there. And we still have some leftover winter storm warnings in parts of south central Montana and north central Wyoming. On the satellite tonight, I've got the Atlantic view here first, and you can see there was convection that was up in Maine. That has now moved through New Brunswick and getting ready to move out. There's also some scattered storms in parts of Virginia, but again, the weather front that's coming through, it isn't really much of one, isn't really doing anything with regards to thunderstorm activity. And a lot of times, Joe, when you get these systems that come through in the morning, like this one did, it effectively kind of zaps all the energy out of the atmosphere. It creates a more stable environment behind it, and unless they get through early, and then you get into some really fierce daytime heating and the front is strong enough, a lot of times you don't get that second round. And that's what happened today.
Well, right now I'm looking at the GOES satellite. There are a couple of flashes over, as you just pointed out, over Maine. There's also some activity going on over portions of Maryland, but Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, the only thing we're watching now are the residual clouds that are rapidly racing away to the east. And Joe, we're going to have a big, full Mayflower moon tonight, shining down and lighting the skies up. We've got a moonlit sky tonight, and it looks like it's going to be a very, very nice getaway Friday. Although I get the suspicion that, case in point, my daughter flew out of here this morning. A lot of people probably have already started their Memorial Day weekend today, but tomorrow, beautiful day, blue sky, bright sun, and much lower humidities. In fact, I noticed on the tabular model output statistics, the Moss value for White Plains at one point tomorrow, Moss is predicting a dew point for White Plains of 49 with a temperature somewhere around 81, 82. So it's going to be a warm but exceptionally dry day tomorrow. And Saturday, not a bad day. I think Saturday will be a dry day overall. The only problem is if you say, okay, I'm heading for the beach, I'm going to get my start on that suntan, you may have a problem because the clouds are going to be increasing and thickening up during the course of the day on Saturday. Now, of course, the infrared and especially the ultraviolet, which are the rays that do give you the suntan or sunburn, that can get through the cloud cover. So it's just not going to be a brilliantly sunny, clear day like it will be tomorrow. And then it may be, it looks like, Joe, I don't know what you're thinking about this. There could be a round of showers and maybe even a thunderstorm or two, I think, Saturday night, maybe lingering early into the morning on Sunday. Then that clears away, and then Sunday should turn out to be turn into a relatively decent day. And then we've got Memorial Day Monday, which could be rather problematic with the next round of, as you alluded to at the start of our Joe and Joe show tonight, the next round of possible severe weather for our section of the country coming our way again on the holiday on Monday.
Meanwhile, on the wide U.S. loop, you can see thunderstorms are starting to blow up in Texas. Uh, Very impressive. If you look at these, there's three clusters there. In one in south in Oklahoma, and the other two in Texas to the south. And there's some space in between, and you can see the high clouds just sort of streaming. I mean, there must be like a rocket ship there shooting out of the blow off from the thunderstorms, streaming eastward. We've also got an increasing amount of thunderstorm activity and lightning strikes up in parts of Nebraska and South Dakota at the moment. I see that David Schwartz has been putting up some of the warnings that have gone out. Thank you, David, as always, for doing that. And as we check the radars tonight on the wide view, the rain's gone in Maine. We've got this area here in Kentucky, this hook on the radar, and it's probably a little upper low that's going by with some severe thunderstorm warnings in eastern Tennessee and some heavy downpours that extend up into north central Kentucky. Then we go to Texas, and we've got four tornado warnings right now in play. But there's a lot of space in between. These thunderstorms are, sometimes you see them in a line, sometimes you see them in big clusters. Here it looks more like streaks from west to east, that even blowing off with some showers into Louisiana. And then we have this area in the Dakotas down into Nebraska, where there's a northeast southwest broken line of showers and storms. And we've got a few severe thunderstorm warnings there, and even a tornado warning that's popped up in south central Nebraska. So fairly busy. Still seeing some leftover precip to the west in parts of northern Wyoming and north central Wyoming and south central Montana. That's where they still have some winter storm warnings up. And the west is fairly quiet, which is nice. Now, SPC, the Storm Prediction Center. So we have an enhanced risk tonight in Nebraska. A tornado watch, actually two tornado watches. I'm going to just refresh this real quick. Two tornado watches are up in Texas. One long one in miles that goes, I don't know how many miles that is, but it ain't short, and it extends up into Oklahoma. The other one's a smaller one that's centered somewhere between Dallas and Houston and down to Austin. So you got that new box that's up. You can see the severe thunderstorm watch that's slowly getting whittled away in Kentucky and Tennessee, and a severe thunderstorm watch, a rather large box that's up in portions of western Nebraska, South Dakota, and on up into North Dakota. So that's what they've got going tonight here. The tornado risk up and down the plains is 2 to 5%. The hail risk is I can't read that. Oh, it's 15%. So 15% in the hatched area, that would be for hail of 2 inches in diameter or more. Now, for tomorrow, this is for Friday into Saturday. We have a large area of slight risk from northeast Texas, all of Arkansas, northern Mississippi, western Tennessee and Kentucky, much of Indiana, all of Illinois, uh, half of Missouri, eastern Iowa, and southern Wisconsin. Marginal risk that extends down into the southeast into South Carolina and goes as far north as central Wisconsin and into Michigan. No thunderstorms forecast from Maine down into Maryland and Delaware. And the tornado risk tomorrow is 2%, with a small area of 5% in southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois. Day 3, and this now takes us to Saturday into Sunday, we have an enhanced risk, and it's going to be elevated tornado risk, enhanced risk in south central and southeast Kansas, much of Oklahoma, into a small portion of north central Texas, marginal risks that goes all the way east to the Carolinas and Virginia, and down to Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi, and as far north as Nebraska and southwestern Iowa. In the long range, on day 4, and I think they've made this a little bit bigger. Now, Joe, the history this season is, and this is maybe the third time that I think it might, I know it's at least the second, it might even be the third time where SPC has put an enhanced risk in the long range.
Right.
And now it's at day 4. So they made this area, I think, a little bigger. Uh, Southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, um, Kentucky, western and central Kentucky, much of western and central Tennessee, northeastern Arkansas. In those instances where they've had the uh, enhanced risk in the long range, when we've gotten it into the short range, uh, day 2 or first day 1 or day 2, we get moderate, and I think there was one instance where we even got to a high risk. So I'm guessing that this is going to be, again, this is for Sunday into Monday. By the way, this is the day 4. That's right, Sunday into Monday.
Right.
So I'm guessing that when we get there, that there might be a moderate risk in that zone somewhere.
If you see this on day 4, and you've pointed out already that you've only seen this what about 3 or 4 other times. I
Well,
mean this.
so this season, I think it's been 3 times.
So I mean, and considering how this season has been so far, um, if I lived in any part of that 30% zone, well, it's Sunday, isn't it?
This
Sunday,
is
that,
Sunday into Monday morning.
right? Well, uh, go to church that Sunday, say your prayers.
Yeah, Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley. Now, day 5, that's for Monday, and this would be the risk day, I think, for the potentially for the Northeast and Mid Atlantic. They have predictability too low, which means that, well, there probably will be some severe weather, but we're just not sure yet. I'll be curious tomorrow morning if I see it in the day 4. Uh, I, I'm,
Well, they
I,
say the reason why they don't have the predictability is low is that they say that the spread among the various tools, the various forecast guidance models, increases considerably on Monday. So they're not, if you're hoping that on day 5, which would be Memorial Day Monday, that they're all going to land on the same page, that apparently is not happening. That there are
no,
models that are going one way and the others are going the other way. So that's going to have to be that's going to have to reverse itself for them to be more confident to put something up. But they do say on the technical discussion, severe storm potential may develop ahead of an east southeastward advancing cold front if this scenario unfolds. However, the uncertainty precludes introduction of the 15% severe probability at this time. So it's not like, well, we don't know. They're thinking about it. They're
right.
mulling it over. And as you point out, Joe, tomorrow morning, uh, if a couple of models, go in a different direction, they may very well have something by tomorrow. That day 5 will be day 4. And I think they should also consider, and I'm sure that's what they're also considering, is the fact day 4 is going to be Memorial Day. It's a holiday. A lot of people are going to be out later in the day. A lot of people are going to be doing traveling. So that may actually force their hand to block out some part of the Mid Atlantic or Northeast for severe weather on the day 4 run tomorrow. So things.
I agree with you. That's probably the road they'll take. If it shows it, they'll probably mention it. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't think it hurts for them to put a slight risk. I mean, just as a heads up.
yeah. Well, I mean, as we just mentioned, the way this the way this particular season for thunderstorms and tornadic activity, the way this has been going so far, which has been absolutely crazy. Why not? I mean, after all that we've seen, why not? Thank you very much to Robert Lumnicki, who wishes us, Joe, a very happy Memorial Day weekend.
Yes, best good wishes to you on this weekend. Enjoy your time off, and if you're working, well, some we, I've worked many holidays. It does. I didn't take many holidays off in my career, but anyway, thank you for hitting super chat. Meanwhile, 7 day rainfall amounts. Uh, Concentrated over the parts of the Great Lakes, down to Illinois and back into Iowa and Missouri, hit inch and a half to some 2.5 inch amounts. Um, uh, Most of the east, except for the extreme southeast in Florida, that area, not much rain over the next 7 days. But everybody else is on the order of 3/4 of an inch to some patchy areas of an inch and a half in western Pennsylvania down in Virginia, and inch and a half to 2 inch amounts in parts of the southern Appalachians, west across northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, and back over into northeast and north central Texas. So let's examine what's going on here and take a look with respect to the upper air. I'm going to start with that because it's really, if there's going to be a severe weather threat in the Northeast, it's going to depend on the strength of the upper air, low and shortwave. And of course, tonight you can see there's a wrapped up cutoff there in northeastern Wyoming. So that's why you're getting all the severe weather in the Dakotas and Nebraska. Typically when you look at these maps and you see something like this, you got this upper low. The severe weather is going to be ahead of that. Very cold, unstable atmosphere. That all that blue is telling you that it's cold and unstable on the east side of the low anyway. And the severe weather's playing out pretty much how you would expect it. And the fact that we have a strong upper low that's still in strengthening mode means that these storms can become aggressive. And there it is on Friday morning as it swings up into the North Dakota and up into to South Dakota and then into North Dakota on its way up toward Lake Winnipeg. Now, we still have a strong southwest flow tomorrow, so there's probably embedded short waves in that southwest flow, and that's why we have the severe weather risk that's going up for tomorrow, and then also for Saturday. And you see the Upper low starts to move eastward on Sunday, which increases the risk for the Ohio and Tennessee Valley. And now, when we get into Monday, that upper low is sitting north of Lake Michigan, and there's a little V-shaped upper trough right there. Let me clean this map up a bit. Right here. This is Monday afternoon, and that's going to lift up to the northeast. So it's the strength of that trough as it lifts up northeastward that's going to determine whether it's showers and thunderstorms with a few strong ones, or is it going to be a more aggressive, severe weather outbreak? And I think the European, Joe, as you said that there's broad range in the models. I think if I remember correctly, the European has a bit more of a vigorous upper low there in the Great Lakes, uh, which would argue perhaps for a stronger round of showers and thunderstorms Monday afternoon and evening. So I would just say, put that in, since it's Thursday, put it in the back of your mind that there's some risk here, and just make sure you pay a little bit of attention this weekend if you've got outdoor plans or if you're traveling. Just keep it in the back of your mind, and not just in eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, where most of our audience is from, but those of you who are watching from other places around the country, make sure you stay in check weather.gov and to see the status of any severe weather that's going to be happening. And you can see here tonight and a Friday as the storms move into Minnesota and Iowa and swing up northward. The Northeast is fine. There's a little action in Kentucky and Tennessee down to me and North Carolina tomorrow. And then Saturday, as you said, it looks like a pretty decent day. Maybe a shower or a thunderstorm Saturday night into Sunday morning. Now, the last couple of runs of the GFS want to start generating some showers late Sunday afternoon and evening across parts of New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania. I'm not 100% sold on that yet, but you can see how the vigorous system that's coming for Monday produces showers and storms, particularly Monday afternoon, some Sunday night into Monday morning, and then more Monday afternoon into Monday evening. So, you got a wrapped up surface low like that this time of year. You got to pay attention. And then after that goes by, kind of a cooler pattern for later next week, it seems, at least for a couple of days. Some kind of upper trough on Tuesday to the west that comes through Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. And then after that, it looks to be a little bit on the cooler side of normal, but dry mostly for the rest of next week. And then suddenly, Joe, it's June 1st.
Yeah, I said, in fact, for on my Facebook forecast for especially Thursday of next week, a week from now, I went for sunshine, but also a rather increasingly gusty wind and temperatures, which these last few days have been like in the 80s. By the middle and latter part of next week, we'll have high temperatures in the upper 60s to near 70, and much lower dew points as well. So it may turn out to be rather delightful here by about the middle and latter part of next week, with again a rather cool or fresh northwesterly breeze and temperatures that will be declining to just below normal. Now, right now, as you just mentioned, Joe, we're heading for the transition from May to June. Normal high temperatures are in the low to mid 70s. So to get a day with a decent amount of sunshine and only reaching the upper 60s to near 70, that's a coolish kind of day. We may be looking at just that kind of weather pattern for, again, the middle and latter part of next week.
Miss Fowlerite said put up the cloud cover maps. I like the ones on Tropical Tidbits a bit better because I think they kind of look more like satellites, given that I know what the clouds are. Because on the other one, blue is on Pivotal, blue is cloud cover, and the white is not. And my mind is always in the other direction. So this goes out through Monday, and you can kind of see how this plays with tonight. And there's some enhancement that goes by underneath us tomorrow morning, but uh, then we have the developing sunshine and a good day for Friday. And then Joe pointed out clouds increasing on Saturday, and you can see them coming up from south to north. By the time we get to Sunday morning, they're gone. And then Sunday dayside looks okay until later in the evening, and you see these enhanced clouds, suddenly start to blossom. Especially you look at the area back in parts of western Pennsylvania, down in Kentucky and Tennessee. You got to think that that's going to be thunderstorm activity that's going to go on there. And then during the day on Monday, you see it's up and down from Georgia all the way up into Canada around that surface low, and they uh, sweep through, and you get probably some showers and thunderstorms with this. So, meanwhile, at least for you, Miss Fowler, right in your neck of the woods, um, I'm just taking a look here. So much of tonight's stuff goes by to your north, and nothing for tomorrow. And then on Saturday, again to your north and northeast, yeah, a little bit comes in during Saturday night into Sunday morning. The big blob there in Iowa and in eastern Nebraska. Then after that, you look okay going into Memorial Day. So we'll see how it plays. I'm leaning toward the idea that we're going to probably have some severe weather risk being indicated. Um, I'm guessing maybe at least a slight risk in there. Not going to speculate whether it goes higher than that, but I think it's a fair bet that we'll probably have a slight risk being indicated for Monday.
I would think so. I think that Monday could be a rather active day around here, and we'll certainly keep everybody posted on our respective YouTube or Facebook pages about that. But it does look like, Joe, that the temperatures, again, for the middle part of next week could be actually below normal. But also, along with that flow of cooler air, we'll also be looking at a period of near to maybe below normal precipitation. So, yeah, actually, I mean, we had today, we had that brief burst of precipitation this morning, but up until this morning, it had been dry here for about 4 consecutive days, which, all things considered, the way the spring was, that was very, very unusual. And now it looks like it's going to be dry again until maybe a brief period of showery weather Saturday night. And then we'll keep our eye on what may be coming our way on Monday with the possibility of maybe a bit of severe weather to be dealt with again for, unfortunately, the Memorial Day holiday weekend.
All right, so let's hold off Briller Jeopardy to Monday because I want to get my holiday weekend started a little early. I don't know about you. I don't have any big plans tomorrow. I'm going to after I take my dog to the dog park in the morning. I'm going to go back to the dog park because there's a the farmers market is there, and Fridays are trash and treasures day, where people come and sell their trash that might be your treasure. So I'm hoping I find a Mary on the half shell. You never know. To put up in my yard. So I'll be doing that. And then other than that, I really don't have much. I don't have really any plans for the weekend. I'm just going to be home. I have some friends coming over at one of the weekend days, just coming over for a quote light lunch. Oh,
Well,
listen, anytime an Italian tells you that come over for a light lunch, okay, I guarantee you it's not going to be a light lunch.
if anybody's interested and they're going to be in the vicinity of Putnam Valley, Saturday between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m., and Mrs. Rayo is the person who is in charge of this. The German American Club of Putnam Valley is having their biannual tag sale. And believe me, having been up on Friday of last week, taking down all of the stuff from the attic that has been now gracefully set up in the clubhouse. If you come to the clubhouse and are looking for something, you'll probably find it on Saturday. They're at Kramer's Pond Road, right here in Putnam Valley. The German American Club tag sale. I hesitate to end this Joe and Joe as we head into a holiday weekend on a sad note, but I do want to mention a voice which many of you may have heard locally on the radio airwaves here in New York, sadly passed away in the last day or two. Carl Babinski of AccuWeather, who was heard many times on WCBS News Radio 880 over the years, He is again one of the AccuWeather. He was at AccuWeather for over 31 years, and sadly, he passed away in the last day or so. Very young, Joe. This is even sad. 53 years old.
Oh,
I mean, he got into the business right out of college from State College, Pennsylvania, at AccuWeather, and has worked the better part of 30 years. And sadly, he was fighting off cancer. I don't know what type, but he succumbed to that in the last day or so. And I know a lot of people who may have tuned in to CBS over the years heard Carl's voice, both on CBS and also on 1010 Wins. And he unfortunately is no longer with us. I'm terribly sad to hear that because again, I used to listen to him many times. Was a bit of a fan. Never had a chance to meet him, but um, there you go. So
and
we
and
salute.
all yes, and also a reminder that um, we don't celebrate a Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day, we observe it, we commemorate it. Make sure it's a somber day. We call it a holiday weekend and all the rest of it, but Memorial Day is a somber day for those who have served and gave their lives up for this nation. And take a little bit of time, even if it's only a minute or 30 seconds, uh, at some point over the weekend to reflect on that. And for those of you on the chat board who've uh, been in the armed forces. We thank you for your service.
uh, Prime
And
Minister Prime Minister Ruben Fairchild. It's not a festival. It's a German club, and if you do come down to the German club, yes, I will be there at the tag sale. My wife said they're short of volunteers, and basically she said if you don't volunteer to help me on Saturday, you're not going to have dinner Saturday night or Sunday night. So yeah, I'll be there. And getting back to Memorial Day, Joe, let me just quickly. I'm going to read this right off of my Facebook page. I posted this a few hours ago, and events of the last few days spurred me on. I don't like to be political, but again, events of the last few days made me post this on my Facebook page. I said, we're just about ready to start the Memorial Day weekend for 2024. While much is said about the unofficial start of summer and shopper specials, please remember that May 27th, this Monday, is set aside to remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice to protect our freedoms. So the next time you see a demonstrator or somebody flying Old Glory upside down, disrespecting our American flag, Old Glory, gently remind him or her that those 7 red stripes on the flag represent the blood of those that protected their right to disrespect the flag. And good night to you and good night, Joe.
good night, everybody. We'll see you next Monday night at 7:35 p.m. And don't forget, pinned at the top of the chat board, if you want to go watch Levi Cowan's video on this upcoming tropical season, uh, there it is. And we'll see you on Monday. Night, night.
Good night, folks.